Hello, hello, hello. I want to say good evening and welcome to my Thursday night live. I just realized I didn't come up with a cute name for my Thursday night lives the way I did for Technique Tuesday, since I had to switch my Tuesday to Thursday. So I'm kind of all out of cute ideas. Maybe you can suggest something for my Thursdays now. Had to switch over to Thursday because Tuesday has become quite busy, at least through March. And my goal was to get back into a nice routine for coming to you live and sharing some projects with you and getting back to our little community of crafting here at least once a week. So we'll figure out the name at another time, but I just wanted to get back in the saddle, if you will, and get back in routine. So I believe it was last week I shared with you this project using the Sweet Jar bundle. So that's the stamp set you see here and the matching punch that punches out the little jar with the lid. And I promised you that I'd bring it back. I'm going to do something else with it. And honestly, this is the most that I have played with this set. And I've had it since, goodness gracious, probably since the new annual catalog came out. That was in April, May or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I saw it at the on-stage event that we had here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I fell in love with it, of course, seeing some products. But here's something else that I fell in love with that I did not think I would like. And that is our 2025-2027 in colors. So tonight I'm going to be playing around with these in colors. Again, several months old already. These are not brand spanking new, but they will be around for another year. And as you may remember, our in colors usually stay around or stick around for a couple years before they rotate out. And so, yeah, I'm just digging back into my stash and using my stuff. Imagine that. What an idea, right? So I first saw these again at the on-stage event that we had in Raleigh. And I was like, I don't know. And then I saw the card. Someone gave me a card later on that inspired me to get all of them. And so that's what I'm going to make for you, a certain version of that card, if you will. But you might notice that, wait a minute, there are only 4 colors, whereas our in colors usually have 5 new colors in the collection. And that is because one of the colors, Cloud Cover is what we call it. So we'll go through the names in a minute. But the ink was not up to Stampin' Up! Standards. They did not like the way the ink was playing out in the manufacturing process and just decided to not keep trying. So remember, these are limited time, so we don't have but so much time to play around with it to get it right, if you will. The re-inker, I believe, was made for sale, and I think I did make a little tiny spot using the re-inker out of it. And the spots, you might recall, look like this, these little tiny boxes with the little foam that you can make it, but I can't even find that. So I've been making do without the ink, of course, but I certainly have been using the paper. So much so that I almost ran out of paper for the little project that I'm going to make with you tonight, because I made a bunch of thank you cards and gratitude cards for Ray to give his counselors in his school district. So I was using up some paper that some designer series paper that matched nicely with the Cloud Cover. So yeah, almost ran out of paper. But here we are. We have Timid Tiger. And I'm playing around with some scrap strips of paper here. So here's the paper that goes with the Timid Tiger. It's a pretty orange. And again, by itself, I was like, I don't know about this. What do we need another orange for? You'll see in a minute why we need this orange. Okay. Then we have Strawberry Slush. Now, Strawberry Slush was a part of our collection a long time ago. As a matter of fact, I had my old Strawberry Slush from before. I ended up getting a new one anyway when these colors came out, because for some reason my old one just got all weird and The ink was spilling all out of it. I don't know what happened in the drawer, but here we are. I got another strawberry slush. All right. Then we have this one, and this is the new black, in my opinion. It's called Secret Sea, and it's really a blue. But when I first saw it, and I don't know if you can appreciate the blue tone to it. When I first saw it, though, I was like, is this blue or is it black? I couldn't tell, but it is blue. It's a really pretty shade of blue. And you might be thinking, what is the big whip with this blue? But I'm telling you, in combination with some of these other colors, it is stunning. This is gonna become one of my basics. Like, I just have to have this color. Back in Christmas, we had this designer series paper and this whole bundle called Traditions of Christmas, I think. And the paper was stunning. And one of the colors that was sort of like a nice foundation to that paper was this Secret Sea. So this is my new best friend. I have to continuously order this to refill my stock because I use it so much. And then we have Darling Duckling. So Darling Duckling is this kind of, again, yellow. It's another yellow. You might again say, we have a lot of yellows. Why do we need another yellow? They're slightly different. And maybe next time I'll show you the differences of the different shades of these colors that we already have. Okay. So again, I'm going to use Sweet Jar. I'm going to use the punch. And then here is the card I'm going to recreate for you tonight. So I'm going to be using the little candles and all of the in colors to make a birthday card. And I decided, well, I need some birthday cards because I have gotten, again, back on my routine of sending birthday cards. I used to send birthday cards faithfully. And then 2025, I don't know what happened, y'all, but I was just like falling all off my game here. So anyway, I'm back. And so I thought, well, let's go ahead and make some birthday cards. So it seems to me now that I'm very interested in making a lot of birthday cards to the extent possible when I go to things like retreats or when I participate in swaps. I'm just trying to get as many birthday cards out of my very little time to craft as possible because I run through them. And I always post on my personal Facebook page an invitation for folks to add their name, address, and just the birthday to an electronic address book called Postable. And so I usually do this like near the end of the year, and just invite people to do that. So, but then, like I said, I just kind of slacked off. I don't know what that was all about, but I'm back. That's what matters. Keep it in the present. I'm back. So I'm using up some scraps, and I typically like to just cut the bulk of my cardstock in half as if I'm making card fronts, right? So that means cutting them in half at 5.5 or at 4 1/4 on the 8.5 inch side. And so I try to do that to maximize my cutting space and so that I'm not sort of destroying a whole sheet of cardstock just for a few little pieces. And then I like to keep some of my cardstock in whole sheets in case I'm doing some type of funky fancy fold thing and the dimensions are still bigger than a typical A2 card. So this is called an A2 card size. When we fold this 5.5 by 8.5 sheet in half, if you will, we end up with 4 1/4 by 5.5. That's a basic A2 card size. And so I use 1/2 of whatever I cut. And I just chopped up some of these strips here. And I think these are like a 1/2 inch in width and they run the length of the card. So 5.5 by 1/2 inch strips basically is what I have. And then when I decided trying to figure out the order that I want to put them in, I'm like, okay, well, let's go in some type of rainbow order. So roughly we have our Roy G. Biv here. So my strawberry slush is standing in for my what would be red on the Roy G. Biv rainbow colors. I have my orange with Timid Tiger. I have my yellow with Darling Duckling, and then I have my blues kind of represented by Cloud Cover, and then here's the deeper blues. So I really don't have any indigo. I guess you can consider this the indigo. That's as far as I got with that. So I'm going to get rid of these, well, move them. I'm not going to get rid of them. I'm going to make as many cards as I have strips for when I get off here, because like I said, I do have some birthdays that I need to get out. But I'm going to just make up until I don't have any more to make. How about that? And so I love this combination. So once again, just looking at the combination of colors together, it's just stunning. It's just really pretty. And I like to look at Secret Sea as sort of my base, my foundation, what keeps everything kind of hunkered down while these other colors are kind of wild and bright and vivid. I always feel like I need something to tone it down a little bit. And for me, Secret Sea does that quite a bit. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, let's go ahead and put these strips or stripes, whatever you want to call them, down. I'm going to start with Strawberry Slush, and I want to make sure that I don't overdo it on my glue. I do like my liquid glue because these are still sort of like layers, and for me, when I'm dealing with layering cardstock or designer series paper, I feel like the liquid glue gives me a few seconds to move things around if they don't, if the paper doesn't land exactly where I want it to. If it's crooked or going uphill or downhill, I have a few minutes to kind of adjust things, a few seconds, honestly, to kind of adjust things. So I did just a really thin strip just down the middle of that strip. Let's see, what did I say next? Sorry, the red, orange. Let's do the orange, Timid Tiger. You don't want to get too carried away with the glue because you don't want the glue to kind of ooze out of the side of your strip and make a mess. We don't want that to happen. This glue is really, really resilient. So once you stick things down, it pretty much stays. I usually use glue dots when I'm working with any fabric or things like ribbon or any of the twine. But when it comes to the paper, I really do like my liquid Tombow glue. Just so you know, in case you didn't, we are running a free shipping promotion right now through tomorrow. Tomorrow's the last day on orders. I believe it's $75 or more. So this is the time to stock up on your basics. I just did a big order for my ladies at Crowsdale to make sure we have all the pretty paper and all the colors that they like. That's what gets their attention. I kind of trained them well. They absolutely love our papers. I haven't seen a company yet that does as good of a job as Stampin' Up! With the designer series paper. And I think it's probably because of this coordination that many of us like, but it's also just the color, like the vivid colors and patterns are just beautiful. So this is the time for you to stock up while we have free shipping, because that does not happen often, right? Does not happen often. So we should probably take advantage of that. Okay. And my last is the Cloud Cover. So I use that opportunity to stock up on some of my basic white paper because I go through a lot of basic white paper, especially when I'm using card bases that are dark, like this Seaside Spray one. It's dark, so I need something to be able to write on in the inside of my card. And I don't think I did that for this one. I didn't make an inside. You might notice my little strip is a little long there, so I'm going to take my snips and just trim it up a little bit to make it even. I don't know how I did that, but anywho, there it is. All right, looking nice and neat. And then I'm going to start my stamping. I probably should have done this before, but that's okay. I'll take a chance here. It's kind of the reason why my little jar is so low. I really didn't want it that low, but I made a boo-boo up under there, the way I stacked my stamps on the blocks. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll cover it. I don't want to start over. But let me find the little hearts if I can. Yes, I have them here. And I'm going to take a moment to kind of display, if you will, display like a tone on tone look by stamping the hearts in the same color as the strip, if that makes sense. So I'm starting with my Darling Duckling, and so I'm gonna stamp the little pair of hearts in Darling Duckling on the Darling Duckling strip. I feel like I'm doing a bit of a tongue twister. Darling Duckling and Timid Tiger, that seems to be the thing with Stampin' Up! Colors. I'm being careful to clean off my hearts here because I don't want to mix up the colors. I don't want mud for my colors on my hearts, rather. Don't want mud. So now I'm going to go to Strawberry Slush. And I'm just going to sort of rotate and alternate them around a little bit. One little trick I noticed, you had to put some nice even pressure for this little heart here. I kept skipping over that heart when I was making my sample. I don't know, it was just my pressure, I guess. So I needed to watch out for that. Thought I'd tell you that little trick. Anytime I can tell you a trick to avoid a mistake or something that I did, I'll definitely tell you, okay? All right, and then Timid Tiger. And like I said, I can't find the little spot that I made with the cloud cover, so I'm not worried about that one. And then, yeah, so let's kind of treat these the way I do my 3 embellishments rule. So remember, my rule is 3 embellishments, and I try to go in a triangular shape. From a design perspective, I'm going to treat this stamping the little hearts similarly. So 3 sets, right? 3 sets of hearts, and there's a little bit of a triangular shape, okay? You can treat that the same way as an embellishment. Now, I am going to replace these hearts. I think I'm done. Well, you know what? No, I won't do that yet, because maybe I'll find some paper up here in my stash to decorate the inside after all. So, nope, scratch that. I won't take the little hearts off. I was going to say I'm going to take the hearts off and put them back in my stamp case. These are so tiny. These are the very things that I tend to lose because they're so tiny. So I was just trying to save myself some headache because I hate when that happens. There are some more little hearts in here, but I want to keep my set all together. All right, I'm going to set this aside for a moment and let's work on the jar. Okay, and I'm going to stamp in black. My Memento ink gives me a nice solid black color. I tend to go towards that one more so than the basic black. I just love my Memento ink. And I am going to stamp that on a piece of basic white. So speaking of getting your supplies together, I have really run out of my basic white, not the heavy, but the basic white cardstock. So I used my order tonight to stock up on several packs, and things like that tend to go, they tend to sell out quickly because a lot of other people have the same idea as I do. So I need those again need the packs of Whisper White, or basic white is what we call it now. I need those because I use a lot of layers in the inside of my cards. Okay, now I'm gonna stamp with these little clusters and the singletons of the candles. Okay, so you'll notice that this little trio of candles, that's one stamp. I don't know if you can see that. That's one stamp, okay? And then we have one little single candle over here by itself. And I'm going to use that to basically stamp in the middle of that little trio, okay? And so I'm going to do that because they're all together. I'm just going to use one color at a time, but I'm going to try to get 2 different sets of these with one in the middle, again going back in the middle and using that singular one to introduce a little bit more color, if you will, to my selection. In other words, I don't want all of my candles to be the same color, and this is one way to achieve that by using the little singleton in the middle. So I believe I started with the Timid Tiger, and I'll do so again for my first little set of candles, okay? And this is, again, because I'm stamping inside the jar, I want to make sure that my candles are at least appearing to hit the bottom of the jar, like they're standing there, okay? So not too bad on that. All right, let me clean this off, and I want to go to my Strawberry Slush for my next set of candles. And I feel like by introducing the strawberry slush, this is probably going to be more of a feminine type card. If I was making this for masculine or for a dude, maybe I wouldn't use the strawberry slush, but I think strawberry slush introduces a softer feminine pink element, right? Okay, I love the brightness. I love the way they coordinate together. So I'll take that. And you know what? I think instead of stamping one more set, I'm going to use my little singleton to add, if I want to, some more color at the end there. I think it got a little bit crowded in my sample. Do you see that right there? It's just got a little bit more crowded than I want it to be. So I am going to introduce my Seaside, where is it? Secret Sea. I keep wanting to call it Seaside Spray. We did have one called Seaside Spray, but it's a totally different, lighter blue. It's so Secret Sea. It's the s that's getting me. So let's go to Secret Sea for my singleton here. Okay. And I'm going to just place that in the middle. And this is hard to see, so I might need to stand up at my workspace here to make sure I fit it in between. And it's made even harder to see because of the beveled edge of my stamp block. So I hope I get this. Let's see. Oh, not bad, not bad, not bad, not bad. All right, and I'm going to do, I want to brighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to use Timid or Darling Duckling. Let's do Darling Duckling to introduce some yellow in there. I'm going to use Darling Duckling for the flame on the candles anyway, but we can have a yellow candle with a yellow flame. It's all right. Okay, so let me fit that one right here in the middle of that collection, that little trio. So do you see how I'm kind of building colors throughout? Because they're kind of connected, if you will. And then I am going to use the singleton one. Let's get some more Timid Tiger in here on the end. I'll do that one on the end. So we just have a little motley crew here of candles in a jar. I don't know how many times we actually put candles in a jar, but okay. Definitely got to keep the lid open or else you'll suffocate the flame. So we don't want to do that. All right, let me close these up so I don't get ink in places I don't want it to be. And I'm going to use my Darling Duckling to put in some of the little flames. So there's like a little stamp with the collection, the little trio of flames. Let's do those. They should fit right with the trio that I stamped at first. It's okay if it's not exact. Oh, I like how that came out. So you can still see the little wick in the middle of it. So they pair very nicely. This is a nice two-step type stamp, if you will. So they're in the same shape and order as the little trio of candles. So that made it pretty easy to kind of line them up. Now there's a special little flame that has a particular glow to it that I'm going to use for the singletons, okay? And I have to be careful with this one. I'm going to put my hand, hopefully you'll see it under my hand. I have to be careful with this one because when I was stamping my first one, I had this one turned in a weird way. So it's hard to see. I had to put on my peepers to make sure I had this going in the right direction. So yeah, I just double checked with my little peepers and I think I have them going in the right direction. And let's see. So I'm going to use this singleton one with the little kind of fire burst around it for the single stamp that I put in here. See that? Do you see the difference? See if I can zoom in a little bit. Do you notice the difference with that flame? It has a little flare going around the edges of it, of the wick. Just a little razzle dazzle on that one that the other flames don't have. Okay, so it's hard to see. There we go. I think that's good enough. Okay, so got our jar and our candles with their matching flames done. So I can close up my Darling Duckling. Okay, and now let's punch. love anytime I can use dies or punches to get my shapes the way I want them to. I am not the best fussy cutting girl. I just don't do well with fussy cutting. I've never done well with fussy cutting. I don't know if I can attribute that to being left-handed. I have no idea. But I did have problems in kindergarten cutting. I did not do well with cutting until my great aunt, who was a teacher at my school, realized that, hey, she needs lefty scissors. So they were the little green scissors. And I got better, but I think I just had a thing about cutting because it was so hard for me. So I still have a thing about cutting. All right, so I think I want my jar a little bit higher up on this one. And I'm just going to place a pre-cut or punched rather, the little lid. So I think I'm going to have my lid opening this way. So you have some love flying out there. You know what I just realized? I can use my Versamark. Even though I don't have the cloud cover ink ready, I can use Versamark to stamp tone on tone. So watch this. Versamark is basically clear. So if I put my finger in the Versamark, you can't see the ink. It's clear and it's sticky. Okay, it's sticky. So when I ink up a stamp with the Versamark, watch what happens. Okay, so it's a tone on tone. It's really faint, but it's allowing the cloud cover to show through. Now that's kind of messing up my rule of odd numbers. So I'm gonna need to do one more set of hearts or else I won't be satisfied. So that's 4 sets of hearts, but I do want at least one more. So we'll have an odd number of hearts. And maybe, just maybe, I will do one more in the strawberry slush, kind of down below. Okay, let's do one more in strawberry slush. So you have to give yourself, sometimes you have to give yourself some room to add to what you thought you were going to do. Now I feel better because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not necessarily a nice little triangular shape, but I definitely want all the colors to kind of have a heart. So that's why I wanted to do that. I don't know why I didn't think about Versamark at first. Here we are. All right, so I'm going to pop this up, of course, pop it up with some dimensionals. Remember, we don't shy away from our dimensionals. I will have to be careful when I know I'm mailing stuff. So, yeah, they could be candy sticks, Zelda. That's a good idea. It's also a good idea. There are little wicks at the top, but I don't know how much people would even notice because they're really, really tiny. All right, I'm putting this back in my camera view. I think when I zoomed in, there we go. I'll zoom out a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. All right. So just put this kind of overlapping a little bit. And then I do want a little bit of pop-up here for my lid. I didn't do that on my sample. I like to keep my little tools and accessories and things from my paper pumpkin kits to help with stuff like this. So these are little tiny ones. We might sell the little tiny dimensionals. It's hard to pick them up. I think we might sell them, but this looks like a pack that came out of a kit or something that I had. So I keep those. Here we go. And stuck to my finger now. I'm using my take your pick tool so I can get a little bit better control because my fingers are a little too fluffy for this. I'm using my little poker end here to help me and to get the tops off. I put on a pair of little boot shoes this morning, and y'all, I had some the little dimensional layers in my boots. I have no idea how they got in my boots, but here we are. Okay. All right. Yeah, I like that better popped up like that. Much better than keeping it flat the way I did here. Everything is kind of popped up. All right. And then the last thing I want to do is stamp my happy birthday sentiment And this time, so last time I used the Timid Tiger, but you see how if I put it here, it's going to kind of get a little faded into that stripe. So let's go with, I'm going to go with the Strawberry Slush, and then I'll pull it over a little bit. I like that better. Really incorporating as much of the color as I can. And I am going to stamp that in the Seaside Spray. Okay. So Happy Birthday is a sentiment in the Sweet Jar set. So there it is right there. I think last time I played around with sending a little, I think I put in Luck Your Way, and then for Valentine's card with the heart, I put a little Love Your Way. So we're going to go with this typewriter looking font for Happy Birthday. And this is, again, one of the little strips that I was just randomly cutting. So at least width-wise, it's a 1/2 inch, just like the others. So we have some consistency and coherence there. I'm just going to stamp it here. And then let's trim that up a little bit. And I kid you not when I say I don't trust my fussy cutting. So even just cutting off the end of the strip, I don't trust it. So I'm going to take out my paper trimmer, and I can line this up because I can see better about how much I want to cut off, leaving just a little bit, just a tiny, tiny bit at the end. And it's just nice and straight. I don't have to worry about me, you know, cutting all crazy. So I do believe I'm going to put some dimensionals behind this too. Got a lot of dimensionals going on tonight, but that's the way I roll. I love some dimensionals. But I was saying earlier, you have to be careful about going overboard, especially if you're going to mail it. I think I can get away with mailing this with no problem. I don't have any dimension or embellishments rather that are going to stick out and tear up the envelope. Sometimes that happens. The little embellishments will poke through and rip the envelope. To prevent that, you can put a little piece of cardstock, just enough to cover it, and you should be fine. So there is that. And let me look behind me to see, let's see. There are some embellishments. Haha, I found them. The In Color flat pearls. So these are nice and flat. They're not as bad as the ones that kind of pop up. So again, look at the coordination here. Okay, so that's the Strawberry Slush. This row is the Darling, what is it? Darling Duckling, Timid Tiger, Cloud Cover, and then a rendition of the Secrecy. And I'm going to go with that one since I have the other colors well represented. Let's get some Secrecy on here. As a matter of fact, I can probably do one for each of the colors just to have that coordination going throughout. Have that here. Let's get the size for, I love this. Absolutely love it. So everybody has something coordinated on here, from the paper to the embellishments. It's just a lot of fun on this card. So don't forget your embellishments, especially when you purchase like a bundle or a suite of products. Don't forget, well, usually in the suite, it'll come. You'll get a pack of some type of embellishments in the suite. And so, yeah, it's just the coordination. This is what will keep me a forever Stampin' Up! Customer, is this beautiful coordination of paper to ink to embellishment. So I hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait to figure out who I'm going to send it to. I have quite a few February birthdays that I need to finish up the month for. So, yeah, I'm glad you joined me tonight, and I hope to see you next Thursday. I think, let's see, next Thursday I might have to do something with the time because I do have to sit in on a class for a colleague next Thursday. So I'll find another night that I can go live and let you know when. And I appreciate the company. Thank you more so for that than anything else. Thank you so much. Take advantage of that free shipping if you haven't already. All right. Good night.